Hi, my name is Zachary Smith. Today we're going to be looking at the JHS Colorbox version 2. If that sounds like something you'd be into, stick around. Okay, so we got the Colorbox version 2. This is essentially a preamp with an EQ on it. It kind of comes from the recording world, so Neve style preamp, transformer in, transformer out, has the ability to use quarter-inch XLRs on the ins and outs. You know, it's something that can be used to pretty good effect on basically anything. It's a preamp from the studio, right? So you can record vocals, you can record synths, you can record guitars, you can record drums, whatever you want. But it really excels being a pedal format. For me, on acoustic instruments, it's kind of designed as an electric guitar pedal, but you know, you can really use it on anything. And you know, there's probably a few electric guitar pedals that can do similar things, but in terms of its use on acoustic instruments, on synths, it's pretty special. So I'm going to take you through a little demo of this on electric guitar and maybe an acoustic guitar, and then I'm going to kind of, you know, show you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and if something that could be useful. Okay, so here's the pedal. I'm just going to plug it in, just use a standard pedal power, 9-volt. I am going to be running it with XLR out into my Zoom recorder, so that kind of does change things. According to the manual, the XLR output has a little bit lower noise floor. So the other thing is I'm using this at the end of my chain. I'm going to be going through my amp sim on the HX Stomp, and then it's coming into the pedal after the cabinet simulation with the mic. So that's kind of how you would use it if this was the preamp you were recording with. You could plug this straight into your interface at this point, you know, and you have basically recorded guitar. Just walking through the knobs, the master, which is a really kind of unaffected volume. It's not going to be a lot of color. That's just kind of get your level where you want it. Where the real kind of saturation, distortion, fuzz is all happening is in the step knob and the pre-volume. So these two knobs are kind of working together. On a classic Neve preamp, this would be one knob. They've separated out so you can kind of have repeatability, I think. The other thing, which you don't have on a normal Neve preamp, is this high-low switch. So this high-low switch is really just, if you're going for guitar distorted fuzz sounds, you're going to be in high. If that's something that you're plugging your mandolin into, you don't want any of that shit going on. So you are going to keep it in low mode, and you can get into saturation, but you're not going to get into full-on crunch, gated distortion. So this is a switched pot. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots to kind of walk you through the gain steps. And then this is variable, just kind of how high and low you are in that specific step. The EQ is not stepped, but it is detented in the center for the volume part. And then you have the high pass, variable high pass filter here. In terms of the ins and outs, we got a pad on this side, and you can see, so 20 dB. If you're getting too much distortion out of this thing, you can put that on. Then you have to switch it between instrument and XLR. I'm not sure why this switch is here. Usually you can just plug in either, but there must be some internal circuitry to change you from XLR to quarter-inch. Is dual output XLR and quarter-inch. They're both going at all times. Let's hear how this thing sounds. Just plug in my guitar straight in. We got just a real basic amp simulation on the HX Stomp. So there it is. my G&L ASAT going through Cali 76 into the HX Stomp. I'm on the US Dripman amp through our 112 Blue Alnico speakers. So that's pretty basic sound there. Let's try with the preamp on. I'm going to start in low mode, and we'll just kind of get with the EQ and the high pass off, basically. Let's get us up to a kind of unity. So pretty subtle, but you can hear how that is rounding out the sound. It feels a bit more finished. Yeah, so that's kind of, maybe there's a little bit of grit starting to be added there, but let's just explore where we can go with in terms of that. You can hear kind of the noise go up a bit there as we... Just a little bit of hair now on the edge of that sound, still giving it a little bit of kind of roundness and making it feel more finished, I think. We just go back to the original. So, pretty nice. Let's just kind of hear if we go a little bit more extreme on this, still in the low setting. I'm just going to crank this. So you hear, obviously, some grit going on there. Let's just hear the bypass sound. So all that grits. So you can hear it kind of does that classic preamp thing where it's like grabs a note and gives it a lot of compression or sustain, especially on low frequencies. You can hear that sometimes when a preamp's pushed pretty hard on like a kick drum or something like that. It can be used as an effect, but it's also usually when you're recording, you wouldn't want to put that on. You just kind of come back a step from there. So let's just see what it's like if we go to the lower sound and we switch to high mode. So you can hear there, pretty similar to the sound we were getting when we were on the maxed out low mode. So you're just kind of finding where that point is. But if you wanted to have a clean sound, you probably wouldn't be in high mode. This is kind of more where you're going to kind of get that really fuzzy sound. So let's just kind of hear that a bit. Let's crank this up a little bit. What's interesting is that you can hear how it is squishing the reverb tail a bit weird, because this is the last thing in the chain, right? So we're using it as if we were recording through this preamp. It's kind of cool, but maybe you would then say, okay, let's turn down the reverb, or let's clean up some of that lowness, which is kind of where this high pass comes in. Let's just give this a bit of a bump. So that makes a massive difference, because all that low frequency is now kind of getting cleaned up, and the distortion characteristic has moved upwards a lot because that low information is not hitting the preamp as hard. These kind of... right on that edge of gated fuzz territory. So let's just hear that. Using this high pass, you can really change where that kind of spitty, growly distortion is happening. Without it on, you're hearing a lot of low fuzz, and then it goes kind of progressively higher till it's kind of outside of the guitar range, and then you're just getting this kind of crackly bits left over. Now, if we start using the EQ, that's where things kind of get a little bit crazy. Let's turn this off again, and we'll just kind of work our way back from this kind of distorted sound down to a cleaner sound using the EQ for different things. So pretty kind of crazy fuzz there, and super tweakable, because this is quite a powerful EQ, and you can really kind of put it wherever you want. So that really makes it flexible. If you want this to sound like a different kind of guitar, you can do that with this kind of an EQ. Let's try the other end of the spectrum with some clean sounds. So pretty sweet sounding. So you get a nice variety of things. There's a lot of, you can kind of tell already how useful it is in just sweetening up that kind of upper mid harshness that can happen with a guitar, like with a Tele like this. So you can hear how it's pretty useful and powerful to be able to shape a sound, and also add that little bit of saturation, which you wouldn't necessarily pick out as being a distorted sound, but it just kind of makes it sound a bit more finished, a bit more clean. And so it's a pretty useful preamp in that way. I've used it to good effect on drums, on mandolin, on all kinds of instruments that kind of need a little bit of massaging to really sound great. But I also love it just on the end of my electric guitar pedal board, to kind of add that final bit of sweetness and to just kind of make everything sit nicely. It also is great if you're using backline amps or different amps, on a regular basis. You can just rely on this EQ to kind of get you where you need to go. And even if you're using something that is super, super clean, you can add a little bit of limiting by pushing this preamp, just so that it gives you a bit of a feeling of playing through an amp that's, getting a bit squished or whatever it is that you need. A little demo on the Acoustic 2, this is my Gibson Advanced Jumbo, just straight in. So just give you without the preamp. It's okay, but a little bit kind of rough sounding in the high frequencies, I would say. So let's try it with the preamp. So that sounds a lot sweeter and more together to me, a lot more useful in terms of being able to use it in a mix. There is still kind of this upper frequency that's a bit annoying. Let's see if we can deal with that. So what we ended up doing is just kind of cutting out a little bit of the mids there, a little bit of the highs, and giving the bass a bit of a boost. And then just being able to shape the low end with the high pass filter goes a long way. You can hear how it's just kind of made the guitar sound a bit more alive, a bit more real, a little less kind of plugged in acoustic sound. So definitely something useful on the stage, and can be definitely used on a microphone on your guitar as well. So kind of a cool thing that way. Yeah, so it's a super cool pedal, super useful in the kind of age of $500 plus guitar pedals. I think it's kind of unique because it does do so many things. It really makes a lot of other things seem very one-sided because it's so useful in a lot of different contexts. You can use it on pretty much any instrument. You can use it live, you can use it in the studio, and it's super adaptable. It can really take a sound that's a bit anemic, a bit rough sounding, a bit thin, and give it some weight without making it sound bassy or harsh. The EQ on it is is where the action is. You can really fine tune it to any instrument and make it kind of sit in the mix and make it sound the way you want. So for that reason, it's really great. It is rather large, so it is hard to fit on a board. But I think having this around, if you're kind of a multi-instrumentalist like me, playing a bunch of different things, you can use this on almost every gig or in every session. It can be used to, just give you that extra 5%, or it can be, the source of a crazy sound that you couldn't get otherwise. So in that way, it's a pretty useful pedal, and I definitely recommend it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. If you want to pick one of these up, there's an affiliate link in the description. See ya.